Okay, hello everyone, and we are live yet again. I always like to kind of start by saying or asking the question, what are you reading today? And as I wait for my co-host, I don't know if this is her first time or not, so it may take a moment. We shall see. Hello, Stephanie. How are you this evening? But yes, I will see if she can figure out on her end this thing we call a live. But yeah, so we'll be talking about, obviously as normal, books, writing, everything in between. If you have questions at any point, just post them in the comments and we will try to do our best to answer them. Keep my eye out for my co-host. Hopefully she can figure out the live function. But yes, as for me, I had some good news today. I was talking to my narrator for my Viking series, so my dark fantasy for adults, and my narrator just let me know that we are good to go, so we made the final approvals, and what that means, if you know anything about audiobooks, we now have to just wait while it gets its final conversion, and might even be released later this week. Let's see. I don't see my co-host at the moment, so I will continue to ramble. Please stop me if you want. But yeah, so it's very exciting for me because I love this process, or I love beginning this process of converting all my books into audiobooks, which is, it's slow, it's a long process, inexpensive, but so far it's been a lot of fun to just learn about this whole process, and hearing my books is a totally different way of reading them and just hearing the voices come alive through the different narrators. So that's a lot of fun, and I'm excited about sharing with you this next audiobook. But yeah, okay, so I think she's a little late at the moment. I'll keep my eye out for her. I keep checking, that's what I'm looking for, to see if she figured out how to go live, because this happens a lot. Thank you, but yeah, this happens a lot for newbies when they've never gone live before. Sometimes they don't know how to enter, but in the meantime, yeah, so exciting. Audiobooks. Do you guys listen to audiobooks? I had not actually listened to them ever. That's my truth, that is an admittance, before beginning to have mine kind of converted into that platform or that form of book. And it is very different. But I guess it's really interesting because everybody who does listen to audiobook, they have their stark preferences. If they want a female narrator, a male narrator, a group, because that is also a thing. And right now I'm trying to do a little bit of everything depending on my series. So that's a lot of fun. I see my co-host. Okay, so let's see if she figures it out. But yeah, Stephanie. Hey, well, I'll answer you in a moment. Hi, how are you?
Hello, hello. I'm great. How are you?
Good. Okay, so I right before we get to your stuff, let me answer a couple questions that popped in on my end. Have you done a live before?
No, this is my first
Yay!
actually.
Welcome to the first live. So how it kind of works, as far as I am aware, is that people who follow you will be chiming in on your side. People follow me on mine. If someone who follows both of us will be able to look down and see the different comments, if any pop up. And I usually try to read mine aloud because if someone's following me, but maybe not you at that as of yet, we try to change these things. I may be the only one to see them, so I try to read them aloud, and then we'll just answer them if anybody's asking a question about our stuff, our experiences. But yeah, so I have a couple things that chimed in while I was waiting, and we were talking about audiobooks. So I don't know if you have any experience of audiobooks, but I have some people saying, Stephanie, one of my friendly authors here on this platform, said she's auditioning right now. That's a fun process. And
Yeah,
someone
that's
else has
awesome.
chimed in saying they're thinking about narrating. So all good stuff. But yeah, so how we kind of do this is for the next hour or so. What we'll do is I'll let you start off and talk about who you are as a writer, what you write, and let people know, because again, people who may not even know any of us could be seeing our feed because a lot of
Hmm.
these get pushed. And so we want to introduce ourselves, our writing, and then I'll do that on my end. And then from there, we'll just start talking about books, writing, and everything in between.
Awesome, awesome. I saw a question that said, "What are your pronouns?" So mine are she, her. I wanted to make sure I answered that. But I'm Drea C. I am a first-time author. I just had my first novella come out on Amazon and KU and ebook and paperback on August the 20th. And I
Oh,
mostly write in the romance genre, but I do the subgenres like fantasy romance, paranormal romance, and the things I write are a little bit spicy, so I add a little spice into whatever genre it is.
I absolutely love it. So do you have a example of your first, you said novella that has been released? Do you
Hmm.
have a, can we
I
see a
do,
picture?
I do.
Yes, show
I
us,
have
because that's
my
like the best thing.
proof copy right here.
I love it.
I'm so proud of it because I actually did the cover myself and I kind of just fully immersed myself in this process. So I am very proud of where I am and actually that I put the words down, I focused on it, and I got it finished.
That is fantastic because, yeah, anybody who starts the writing process, it is a huge achievement to publish. It really is. And that is so cool. And the fact that you're also doing your own covers, kudos to you, because I tried that once and it didn't really work for me. And so from now on, I'm like, no, what? I'm going to just hire someone else. It is not my strength. So amazing. That is absolutely amazing. But before we jump back into that, I'll just do my little spiel and then we'll go from there. But
Awesome.
yes, I guess from the question a little earlier, my pronouns are she, her. And what I write is I'm an epic fantasy author. I have 3 different series currently. They range from adult, new adult, and young adult. So I guess by age, younger to older. And again, they vary within the subgenres of high fantasy. My young adult series, some of the terms that are they're known for is noble bright, so a very high sweeping adventure fantasy that focuses on non royalty. But think of like Tolkien and Lord of the Rings kind of thing, where it's big sweeping fantasy. It's a lot of fun. It's a portal fantasy, so we're going to be jumping into different worlds, multiverse of magic, and I really love that one. My blah 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 blah. My new adult fantasy is called the Incarn Saga. There are 4 books. It is a complete series, and it's a war shifter fantasy set in a kingdom, well, on the verge of war, where both the humans and the shapeshifters have to decide if they can put aside their differences in order to unite and fend off a greater threat. And my final fantasy series is a dark Viking novella series. So we're talking about little novellas. And it was a fun one because it was challenging me to write smaller, shorter works and try to rapid release them. That was a theory. It's not doing as well as I want, but that was the theory. But it's again set in Norse mythology, so you're going to deal a lot with the Vikings, Yggdrasil, the Nine Realms, and it's a pretty immersive experience in that lore. So I really enjoy that, and that's for adults. But that's a little bit about me. So let's talk about your new book. That's so exciting. I love new works. So what inspired you, or tell me a little bit about your book. Like, what is it about?
It is about a werewolf huntress named Robin and a fairy duchess named Yashana. And there's this world I'm creating with different realms, and each realm is led by a different species. And
Ooh, okay.
Yashana was at a vampire ball, and so was Robin. She was there as kind of some extra security for her alpha. And she was kind of bored at the ball. And so she just kind of looked over and she had this awe moment with Yashana where she was like, oh my gosh, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And she also had the realist fact in there, like, yeah, I'm just a lowly little huntress and she's a duchess, but I'm just going to shoot my shot. And then they kind of end up talking, they have their moments, and they later on meet up again, and they're at different walks of life where Robin wants upward mobility, but there's a hierarchy in the pack. She's pretty much maxed out at being just a huntress. And Yashana, she's a duchess, but all her life she's been a duchess with guards following her. And some things happen that cause her to have more guards. And she's like, this box formation is stifling. And so the two of them come up with a plan for Robin to be her bodyguard. But on Robin's side of things, the fairies and werewolves aren't really friends. Her alpha is kind of upholding this feud from long ago that other people have let go. And she's like, I would be more than happy to help you. Money is talking, but we're going to have to pretend on my side of things. So there's a little bit of fake dating, and they have the bodyguard scenario, the fake dating scenario, and a lot of overarching plot with feuds going on in there and just a love story underneath it all.
I love that. That is fantastic. So, what inspired you to come up with this idea on your characters? Like, where did this come from? I mean, I know that's a pretty basic question when it comes to writers, but it can be a tricky one to answer sometimes.
What inspired me was more so it was very layered. Like I really like I looked out and I didn't really see a lot of my earphones just fell somewhere down here. Oh, and there it went. I didn't see a lot of diversity where it came to kings and queens. And I wanted something there, but I love paranormal. I love that aspect of things. So I wanted to do royalty, paranormal, and have a diverse cast of characters too. And I kind of just put it all together. And it's becoming a beast because it wasn't just one novella, it's going to be a series. And I have 3 books in this series. It's going to be called Truly Fated. But as I'm writing these, I'm thinking, why stop at the fairies and the werewolves? Let's go ahead and bring in the other realms. Let's think about the vampires and the nymphs and all these others. So I'm thinking about just making an interconnected world of everything.
So, how many peoples do you have in your developing world? Because you just named probably a half dozen right there. How large is this going to go?
Well, I think there are actually 6 or 7 realms. There's werewolves, there's fairies, there's vampires ruling one. I still have to bring in the humans, the witches, the nymphs. So, and I'm not going to make it overwhelming to the point where it's like all these people are going to be in one book. It's
Okay,
going to
yeah.
be, there's one series of werewolves and fairies. Another series may touch on the nymphs and the vampires, and another will touch on like the humans and the witches. But you'll see different faces in the world.
I like that. I do like that. So, one question I have is obviously, this is not set in Earth as we know it. This is its own world, a truly own world, or how do you describe it?
I say it's Earth, but if Earth had 7 different realms ruled by different species.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. So yeah, I have a question pop up from Stephanie saying realms meaning different worlds and portal fantasy. Oh yeah, so that's a term that I've become aware of is portal fantasy. So for me, the portal I think the definition of portal fantasy, and anybody can correct me if I'm absolutely off, is when you are in Earth as you know it today and you get transported to another reality, another world in and among itself. So Alice in Wonderland goes from England to Wonderland or stuff like that. So that's Portal Fantasy. So I write one series that's Portal Fantasy, but the other two I would just say are high fantasy. They're not on Earth at all. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
these realms are more so kind of like kingdoms, like that kind of realm for me. They don't
okay, like
travel
Sons of
into
Torment. I
another.
like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So, okay, so we have a world with all these characters and all these kind of different beings ruling them. Now, you're starting with werewolves and fae. Are
Hmm.
they pretty traditional, or are you having some interesting twist, or like how's your werewolves? Are they the I guess standard ones where they are allergic to silver, or are they
Yeah.
totally different? Like, can they control their abilities? Like, tell me more.
For my werewolves, which I adore werewolves. For my werewolves, of course, they turn on the full moons. Um, Silver is definitely a factor in their weaknesses, but they can force their turn, not on a full moon, but it's more painful for them to do so. And they can turn at will, but they feel every single bone transforming
Hmm.
whenever they force it, not on a full moon.
Ah, yes. I write shifter series, and that kind of had to be explained. Where yes, they do feel the transformation, but
Mm-hmm.
the pain that happens during that moment only lasts, for like a fraction of
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But obviously, during that moment of pain, it is excruciating because yes, you're transforming into a totally
Mm-hmm.
different body type. So it is always interesting shifter lore and werewolf lore. That is cool. And how about your fae? Are they kind of like the Celtic traditional Seelie Unseelie chords, or are they totally your own making, or are they
They
the wind?
are a little bit, I think I do them a little bit differently. They basically they resemble humans, except the only way you can tell their face is they have pointy ears. They have pointy ears, and their wings are kind of like, I think Yashana describes it in the book, is like the shapeshifter wills themselves into wolf form. They will their wings out and back
Oh,
in. And their
that's
wings
neat.
are like birds of prey.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Okay, I have a question that popped up. Portal Fantasy question mark. Oh my goodness, you're going to ask me to pronounce a word that I don't know how to pronounce. Isik Isike? Oh god, I cannot. I'm assuming this is an anime term. I don't know. Okay. Like, yes, yes. Okay, so don't know that term, but I'm also not as experienced in the anime world as some people. Yes, I know who this person is. She's calling me out. Anywho, okay, well, now let's get into a little bit of books. So you recently released your book, and what are you like? How are you promoting yourself? Obviously, you're on platforms like this, but what is your promotion strategy? Some people on the writing side might be interested in that.
So that is where I struggle. Like I love the writing process, love the cover making process, the marketing. That process is where I've
Oh,
been doing a lot of research. I'm making, videos. It's taking me a lot. I've been extremely introverted. It's taken me a lot to just kind of get out there and start making videos and posting on my social media platforms. But I've heard a lot that the advice is if you're new, if you're writing in series, hold off on paid marketing until you have a couple of books out there. So that's what I'm doing. When I first put it out, I did just kind of do a Facebook ad just to get my feet wet and see what it was like and what I would have to do in the future, and just kind of did some research on different paid newsletters that are options, and just trying to, while I have this first book out, do a little bit of lazy marketing of what's working, where I can post, and just kind of wait it out for my next book. And I'm trying a rapid release method of trying to do a book every few months. So I'm just
yeah.
gonna wait it out and then do some heavy promoting, some paid promoting once I get my next few books in the series.
Yeah, I agree with that philosophy. I mean, obviously, there's exceptions to every rules, and each person has whatever their strength is. For me, my experience with a paid advertising definitely is you want to wait to at least book three if you want
Mm-hmm.
to try to make it work in a series. When you're writing independent, obviously, it works for some independent writers or standalone book writers, but I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work because I think the rule of thumb is it's easier to sell 10 books to one person than one book to 10 people. So when you have that long series and you catch someone's attention on book one, you hopefully hook them for the rest of them. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
paid advertising makes it beneficial in my experience. But I've only just started to figure out what works for me. So there is going to be a lot of testing when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I mean, the nice thing about platforms like this and what we're doing here is it's an easy way to reach new readers, and you know, for little money. Yes, it's time and energy and all that kind of stuff, but less expense with when you're a young author. We don't have a lot of money to begin with.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean, and being on platforms like this one, yes, there is that intimidating feature to get your face out. It took me a while to get comfortable with it because, you're talking to a camera
Exactly.
and people are going to be watching you. But in the end, what I've talked about with all these other authors, and I saw some of them have been chiming in and out, but is that you kind of, after a while, get kind of used to it and that fear
Hmm.
dissipates. Plus, everybody's going to bumble through it for a little while, so that's good. And you can kind of test out your hashtags because for you, what you were describing about your book, you had a lot of those tropes and subgenres that people are eating up here, so good for you.
Yeah, I'm learning. It's been a learning experience really. Because you think about it, and I always thought, yeah, I want to be an author and I want to try the indie route because I want more control over publishing and all that. And then you start to learn, okay, there's way more involved than just writing the book.
Yep, 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 that's the small part of it. Who would have known? Who would have known? Like for you, oh my goodness! For anybody who's just chiming in, your book covers or your book cover is gorgeous. I did stalk your website or your link um, through here a little earlier, and I just blown away that you designed your own cover, and it is fantastic.
Thank
Plus,
you.
I love seeing, and it's my personal biases. I love a book with like a strong warrior type woman. So your
Hmm.
bodyguard scenario, I was just like, I see which one. I know. It's
Yes,
beautiful.
I loved it. I'm getting more into it though. It's book cover design. I'm not a graphic designer, but I just kind of like trying things out and seeing what works. And it's almost as distracting as TikTok because I've literally made, I think about 13 book covers for things. And then I'll get an idea after I make it like, oh yeah, I can make a story around that. So I have
Hey,
so
see,
many things planned just based off of me playing around and testing things out with book covers.
I love that. No, and that's why there's a big market for what they say is ready-made covers, where designers literally design a cover, pitch it, and people just buy a ready cover because they're like, oh, that's giving me a good idea. I'm creating a world around that cover. So that's pretty cool. But
I'm
okay, I have a
guilty of
question.
that too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I have a question that popped up and says, why don't authors make their own audiobooks? Wouldn't it be more cost effective? I don't know if are you dabbling in the audiobook thing yet? Are you holding off? Let me ask that
I
first.
am
Then I'll get to the question.
definitely holding off because I've heard of how much it costs to have somebody, narrate and read your books. And I don't know if anybody would read a book with my voice on it.
Don't sell yourself short. But I guess to answer this to answer the question, there are ways, and actually, depending on the company you use to put out your audiobook, authors or independent people can narrate their own book. That is an option for us, and that keeps the price down to almost nothing because
Hmm.
you do it yourself. The trick is, do you know sound editing and all that kind of stuff to make it sound good, succinct, smooth, no background noise, and all that jazz? And that's something I don't know. So I opted to get narrators myself, but it is an option if someone is comfortable, wants to try it out, test it out. If you know already that sound editing aspect of it, you can always create your own. And there are two main ways to do audiobooks. One, obviously, is to pay people, which I'm doing for two of them. And the other one is to split royalties, which I'm doing for one of them. And the splitting royalties means I'm not paying out of pocket in the get go, but I am for a certain number of years. It's 7 through the company I do. I'm partnering with the narrator and we split all our royalties 50-50. After that, I make full profit. But there are pros and cons to everything. So hopefully that answered your question. I love questions. Okay, so going back to your book series, what is your series called, by the way? your series as a whole?
Truly Fated. It's called Truly
Truly.
Fated, but fate is spelled like you spell Faye at the beginning.
Oh, I like that. Okay, and you said you were trying to do three in that sub-series?
Hmm.
Okay, so okay, are they going to be the same characters or are you doing new couples? Because I know a lot of romance writers tell me that each book is usually a new couple in the
Hmm.
universe, but I'm a different writer, so I usually follow the same character throughout their poor journey. Usually, I'm glad my characters aren't real because I would worry for myself because they won't like what I put them through. But your characters would love you.
Yeah, it's gonna be different couples. I have the names for each one. It's gonna be so the one that's out now is the Duchess's Bodyguard. The one that's coming out hopefully in November is going to be the Queen's Beta. And then the third one is gonna be the Alpha's Enemy. And they're all gonna be fairy and werewolf pairings.
Okay, I like that. And are they all um are you doing female female? Are they going to change, what the orientations or how is your
Yeah.
series progressing?
They're gonna change so female female for the one that's out now, female male for the Queen's Beta, and then female female for the Alpha's Enemy.
I love that. That is fantastic. But that is so neat. So you already know your stories well in advance. Are you because I guess one of the big questions are for authors, are you a planner, pantser, plancer, all these terms. I want to know who makes these terms up. But what would you consider your writing process?
I feel like it's so odd because I would say I'm a pantser, but then I get in a story and I do this thing where I will start with chapter one, but then I start to pitch myself the next chapter. And every time I write, like I'll end chapter one and I'll pitch myself the idea for chapter two in a short paragraph, and then I just do that for each one after that.
Nice. Okay, I like that. I like that. Steady as she goes. Yeah, no, I'm kind of one of those writers who's a little all over the board. I usually know my main points, the beginning and ending of every book, how many books are in the series, the main characters. But once I start writing, that's where the characters come alive. And the
Yes.
story takes its own route sometimes to get to the points. They always do, but a character may write itself into being, a subplot may occur, a backstory may reveal itself, that kind of thing. So I'm a little in between the routes there, but that is pretty cool. But yeah, so okay, so you're writing novella links, or is that
Hmm.
what you mentioned earlier?
I'm writing novellas right now. But the idea for the novellas actually came from a potential full length novel that I may do after I do my novella length world because there's something that doesn't fit into all of my current, plot points for the novellas that may need to come after because I was trying to work on the timelines and I felt like I'm going to pause this story because I need to get out the story of the before first.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Question popped up. I heard that before. What is a novella? Okay, so there are different, and I should know since I write novellas what the actual number. There's an actual number break between sizes of books. So you have a short story. The next size up is a novelette. That's the cutest name, a novelette.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a novella, and then you get your full length books, which again I can't remember the breakdowns. You may know what size a novella range is, but once you get beyond that, any book as big as it is just a novel.
Yeah, I think, don't quote me because I think it's around anything under 50,000, I think is a novella, 50,000 to 20 to 40 something, I think maybe. And then
Yeah, there is a
novelette is
break.
something, yeah, there's some kind of break in there.
Yeah, and for me, I think I write. Oh, my novellas are probably on the. I don't know. I'm trying to remember how many words my novel is, but it's on the slightly smaller side of that. But yes, novelette is between a short story and a novella. It is the cutest name, but yeah, I don't know the number count. I should actually have a chart and I should know this. I feel like as an author, there are certain terms we should know, but well, I can only speak for myself. I'm a little lazy sometimes, so
I know I researched it at one point, but now I don't know.
that's fine. I like novellas, and I think in the writing community, more and more people are utilizing them, be it a full time series like what I'm doing for my Vikings, or even the freebie books that they give away because then they don't
Hmm.
have to give away a full length, which takes, that much longer to create, but it does give them a nice bite and a nice sample of your writing. So, but yeah. So those are, yes, novel, novella, novelette, and short story. I have some comments. It's funny. Okay, so let me ask you then. You have obviously your paperback. Do you have other formats too available for your book?
It's in KU and it's on in ebook. Ebook and KU are Amazon, but my
Mm-hmm.
paperbacks are Amazon and Ingram, so you can find them in more places.
Ooh, are you going to consider doing a hardcover? That is something I'm exclusive through Amazon. So this year was the first year authors like me were allowed to do or able to do a hardcover, and so
Hmm.
I really like it. Though I know people who use the Ingram side get fancier book covers because you get the dust jackets. I
Yes.
want a dust jacket.
See, I was thinking about it, but my book is so small. I was like, okay, so it's only 145
Mm.
pages. And I was thinking, would anybody really buy a hardback of such a small book?
Well, what I have done, I'm trying to see if I have. Ooh, it's right behind me. It's right there. So for my novellas, because again they are on the smaller side, now that I'm able to write a slightly longer series, I'm bundling them in groups of 4 in print versions because up until then they were only ebook because they were so small,
Hmm.
and I just didn't know if people were going to buy a physical book if it was that small. So I bundled them now, and I do have a hardcover and paperback version of the first 4 together because now they have more meat to them. So that may be something you could consider down the
I
line
like
when you,
that.
yeah, have your trilogy out, you released it again,
Um,
and it's another way that people who want their bang for their buck can just do one click and get the whole series. If you're writing like
I like that.
trilogies and all that, I almost said trinities, trilogies. These words people use. Okay, so when or wait, oh, this is a horrible question. I know I'm going to ask it, so I apologize. But were already working on your second one? I know you just released your first book, and that's a question people always ask. When is the next one going to release? And authors always kind of glaze their faces. I actually made fun of that earlier today because everybody always asks, when's the next one coming out as soon as you release the one before?
I am working on it. I even held myself accountable, and on my website in the shop page, I have a countdown to it. I'm
Whoa!
hoping sometime in November to have it out. And I write very chaotically, like 3 projects at once. So I haven't actually, in October, I'm going to put out the first book in my paranormal romance series as
Ooh.
well. And then in November, I plan to put out the second book in the Truly Fated series.
Okay, so you're like me and you're a little crazy by releasing multiple series at once. Good for you.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I'm doing that with my young adult, which is the happy go lucky side, and then my adult side, which is the grim dark, the total opposite side. So it's a switch trying to work on 2
Hmm.
projects at once. It'll be like I'm writing one of the new books, new material in the morning on one series, and then switch in the afternoon to edit the other. And sometimes can I like to read aloud when I edit, and I'll
Hmm.
notice that I'm flipping different names for different characters and different series because it's hard. How do you keep everything straight for you? Do you do you
I
try
just,
to keep things straight?
I don't. I just go with the flow, and I write serialized fiction. So I put everything out kind of early. If anybody's like paying attention to my social medias, they'll see I put things out early on Kindle Vella, and
Mhm.
I got lucky and found an editor who will edit chapter by chapter. And
Ooh.
so I know the process everybody does is, once it's done, then they do it. I literally do that process of what people do for a full book for each chapter. Like I write it, that's my first draft of it. I self edit, that's like my second. And then I send it off to my editor and then come back, finish, polished, post it on Kindle Vella. And then by the time it's done on Kindle Vella and all the episodes are completed, you have to wait 30 days
Mhm.
before you can post it into uh, KU or anywhere else. So that gives me 30 days to make another round once it's finished and polish it up, format it, and then put it out. So it's I already have three projects going at once anyway, so it kind of helps me out doing it, thinking of it like a serialized fiction, even if I don't post it to Kindle Vella. And that's just kind of where my mind is every single time and how I'm able to work on different projects because I work on serial fiction where I'm updating episode by episode weekly.
Wow. Yeah, I'm fascinated by all authors who are utilizing Kindle Villa. I don't think I could work that way. I've tried to consider. I was like, can I write that way? But I don't know if I can. I would probably have to like write the whole thing and then
Mm-hmm.
submit chapter by chapter because writing and I would be worried that down the line I would want to go back early on and add something for a subplot that I wasn't able to. So it's a different mentality. But no, how do
It
you like
is.
Kindle Vella? Because that is a new thing on the writing side of things, and you would obviously. It sounds like you're enjoying that process.
Yeah, I love it. I've always liked little serial games like choices and all those things. So it was completely fascinating. And I used to write fan fiction where I did it anyway, way back in the day. So it was kind of fascinating and exciting to be able to do it. And I really wanted to publish, and it holds me accountable too. Just,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I need to do this because there are people reading it. Just like anything though, the struggle is more so having Kindle Vella find those readers who actually like serialized fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I mean, it is so new, and the more people talk about it, hopefully, more people who, like you said, enjoy that serialized approach to work in general, can go and find authors and
Mm-hmm.
readers and stories that they would appreciate. I mean, that was kind of the idea I was doing for my novella series, but just in a larger
Mm-hmm.
version where I was, like I said, rapid releasing, as in putting one out every other month. And I've been pretty good about that. I've been pretty good. I did have a oopsie month recently, but I'm pretty good about that. I do try. So, but yeah, that's as close as I've done to a true serialized story. And since again, novellas are kind of short and succinct, it's nice to be able to release them, fairly
Mm-hmm.
rapidly to people because, they're just short little bites of a whole story. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm loving writing the short bites of the story and just kind of in my truly faded series, it's like little bites, but there's an overarching plot that affects all
Hmm.
the people in the book. So if you wanted to read it and you didn't care about the anything but the love, you could. Or if you want to know, read the next book and see what happens to the overall plot. The other characters will be there, so you can as well. It's kind of like it's standalone if you only wanted to, you came for a little bit of fantasy and a whole lot of love. And I just kind of really am enjoying writing novella sized things right now.
Yeah, I think, and like I said a little earlier, was that size book is becoming more and more popular. It sounds
Hmm.
like so. That's that's pretty cool. Well, thank you for stopping in. So I had one of my people. Thanks, Tassie, for stopping in. We will be streaming another 20-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more, just depending on everything. So join in if you can. If not, we will see you next time. But yeah, I love when people pop in. But no, that is so neat. And you have three. So I didn't realize. Okay, so you have three projects. Woo! All at once. Oh, girl. Oh no. my stress level. No, it's actually true. I like I said, I feel that I have. It's always funny when people are like, "So what are you working on?" And the answer is, "Well, how complex of an answer do you want? I am working, but I'm always writing something, editing something else. I usually have a variety of them because I use beta readers as part of my process. So I'll usually have going back and forth with some beta readers. It actually, unfortunately, today had a hiccup where I don't know if it was where in the emailing process back and forth these documents, but had some get garbled and going through these edits back and forth, and all of a sudden there was that realization that these weren't the right
Oh
edit.
no.
Halfway through my novella later, oh, heartbreak. That was my afternoon, and I was just like, oh, the tragedies of being a writer.
Yes, I did. I had a hiccup when I did my art. First of all, I had to figure out how to do art
Yes, that is the
for
first.
that, and I was like, okay, so I had it uploaded, and somebody was kind enough to let me know. They were like, hey, I don't know if you want me to tell you, but there are a couple of typos in here. And I went back immediately. I was at work. I work a full-time job, and I was like, oh, let me get on lunch and let me look at this. And when I got on lunch and looked at it, I was like, oh no, that was the wrong copy that I uploaded. So I kind of slid the new copy in and I messaged. I was like, thank you so much for letting me know. That was a rough draft copy and here's the final one. And they were like, oh, thank you. I'm going to go and read it now. And I was like, ooh, thank you.
It happens. It's one of those things. No matter what, you can have 1,000 eyes on something, and a typo will get through, or some error. And even the most professional books, put out there, I'll be reading, and I'm like, wow, I caught something. Why can't I catch my own if I can catch
Exactly.
someone else's? It's always easier that way. I don't know why, but it happens, and it's one of those things. It's not necessarily um, a reflection of the quality of writing. Accidents can slip through, but even still, try your best. Always try to put out the best book you
Exactly.
can. Yeah. Okay, so let me see what social media platforms can we find you on
I'm
outside of it?
here outside of TikTok. I am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Drea C Writes, and then Drea C, and then there's the now I've forgotten what the little thing
It's
is.
fine.
Not the
What Yeah, if you just tell me where they are, what I'll do is when I repost this next week, I'll put the live links below. But yeah, so you're on Instagram, you're here obviously.
Instagram, Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it that often. And then I have my website. I just recently got redone, so I have a website and a blog.
I love a brand new website. It's like that brand new book spread. You know what? Sorry, my mind spazzed and I just jumped all the way around to something totally different. But there were here's the thing I've noticed about authors is that maybe we don't have to be writing for a while. It could be just writers in general, but we start geeking out about the weirdest things. The weirdest
Yes.
things. Good formatting, a sexy cover,
Yes.
all these like little details that people usually just ignore. Interesting dedication or whatever. I'm just like, oh, things I start picking up of and start paying attention to as a writer, starting to check out other writers' works.
Yes.
So a nice website, that's always neat. But yeah. Okay, cool. So is there any kind of questions or things you want to cover today? Since I don't want to like take over.
Oh no, you are fine. This is my second ever interview live and my first live, so I never know what to say or ask. I'm just here kind of in the moment.
I love it. Okay, so let me know what are the names of your main characters and where did you get those names from?
Robin LaFleur, she's my huntress, and Yoshana Hartwell is the Duchess. And I honestly
I
just
love
pulled
it.
them out of a hat.
Hey,
And
sometimes
Robin,
that's
I
the best
just
way.
kind of liked Robin LaFleur because Robin, I didn't touch on it too much in the book, but kind of some cool backstory when I was thinking about her character. Robin's parents, they disappeared. She doesn't know what happened to
Mm.
them. Her friend's parents in the pack just happened to find her and they took her in. And Robin LaFleur sounded like a name that a child could have put together two things. And that's where her name came from. She literally decided her name was Robin LaFleur, regardless of whatever somebody else named her. She wanted to take over her own name.
I like that.
And that's what she came up with. And then Yoshana Hartwell, my best friend, actually gave me that name and inspiration for that character.
Aw.
And when I was writing the book, I literally said, I don't care who reads this book, I just need you to read it and fall in love with this character you helped me to come up with. So that's where those two names came from. One was, what would somebody, if they could just kind of, as a kid, make up their own name and find their own identity makeup. And then one was my best friend giving me the name of a character.
I like that. It always fascinates me how people come up with names of characters or even names of places or items in books. I mean, I've kind of been all over the board. My first series, I kind of made it up because it was like fantasy, it has to be made up. So I started with made up names, and then as I kind of continued that series, I started actually putting a little research and meaning behind them because I was like, I kind of like that idea. So for the most part, I usually have a reason why a character is named a certain way. In my Viking retelling, it is loosely based off um, a bit of Norse mythology. So I do try to keep all my names true to Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the flip side, my young adult fantasy, since they were based off the multiverse that my sister and I created as children in our imaginary play, I had to be like, okay, the main character for years was like my alter ego growing up, so
Mm-hmm.
she has my name. Her name will be Katie, and no one can judge me for it because I am the writer, and I say so.
I
So,
love that.
so it is always kind of cool hearing how people develop names or who inspired them and everything, or concepts or personalities. Like, how did you develop your two characters' personalities? Like, where did that inspiration come from? And you don't have to tell me if it's a secret or something, but
Oh no,
stuff
it's
like
not
that
a
is
secret.
interesting.
It's definitely not a secret. And I always make people kind of take a pause when I tell them. So Robin, she's kind of morally gray.
I
She's
like that.
kind of out for herself a little bit. Like she's like, how is this going to benefit me? What's going to benefit me? And I take that from my little brother. He's always kind of like, when he was younger, he was always kind of like, so can I put my name on this gift and say it came from the both of us in a way? So that inspiration is where that came from. Robin's personality is kind of a little bit of his, and he knows that some of my characters are definitely based off of his personality type.
Yeah.
And then Yoshana, she's just kind of very down to earth in a world where she probably should have her guard up more, and she kind of wars with herself. And that one just came from my thought process of, if you were a duchess and all you wanted to do was live a life outside of being a duchess, what kind of personality would you have? And I kind of pieced together from that question Yoshana's personality.
I like that. No, that again, things like that, as at least as an author, always fascinate me. Is not just the story itself, but where did the author come up with this idea, or
Mm-hmm.
was this, everybody always wonders, are you basing your characters off your friends? A lot of times that's actually not necessarily the case, though. Kind of like what you're saying, you might be able to pull a little bit of someone's personality or trait here, maybe a physical descriptor there, but they're usually not truly based off a person
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. Maybe not all the time. And then again, you could write yourself into a book, so it's fine.
Yeah. Pieces of yourself. I've heard that, authentically you can put pieces of yourself throughout the book. And I think subconsciously we might do that sometimes.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's not hard as a bad thing, but it's hard to prevent yourself from putting parts of yourself in your
Hmm.
writing, maybe intentional or not, but like they become your book babies.
Yes.
They are a part of you. You created them and you're tied to them. And just like any kind of parent, you can be defensive of your book baby because it's your book baby. Oh man, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love talking to other authors. But okay, yeah. So I'm trying to think. I think we've covered most everything that I had to talk about, but that's so neat. Okay, so the next book in your series potentially is coming out November, you said?
Yeah. Hoping
Said,
November, I think 21st is what I said.
oh my goodness, you have it to the day. Last year, I felt like I had things planned like that. I worked really hard and it worked well. The holidays hit, and then this year I was like, I'm going to be just as prepared, and I am not. So I'm usually like 2 weeks before, oh, I'm releasing a book. Just so you know. This whole marketing thing, it's not my forte. I'm just like, here's the book. It's out.
Yeah,
Enjoy it.
I've read where people are saying you should start like 6 months ahead, and I was thinking to myself, wow, I did not do that.
I will always tell myself the next time I start a project, I'm going to be on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, I just kind of procrastinate the marketing part because I'm thinking, okay, so here's my marketing plan. And then I just kind of get nervous or introverted I'm like, oh, I don't want to be in front of the camera today. And then I just kind of got to work on that piece. I might not make it to the 6 months every time, especially with rapid releasing. I'm definitely not going to make it to 6 months before, but I'm going to at least try more to get myself more out there and out of my introverted shell.
And especially like for this platform and the book talk community, I mean, there are a lot of video styles that work where you don't have to have your face in front of it. There's obviously that flip page one where you put a quote or
Hmm.
something about your book, or you put that pretty cover ups, and the fact that you can record drafts. If you had
Yes.
day, you just had that energy, you could be like, I'm going to create a bunch of drafts about my upcoming book release, and they'll be waiting. They'll be done. So when it comes time, I just put post. Just post. Have all the tags ready. Post. They can make it easier for you.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. I wish you the best luck for that upcoming release because that's two in a year and your debut year. That is so cool. I love it.
Thank
You
you.
did far better than me because I put one out and then I put like one out a year for a few years and then I was like, man, I need to work faster. that that doesn't cut it anymore. Oh man, you gotta like put them out. So, but it is fun creating these like full stories.
Hmm.
Okay, so this second book, what is the story idea behind that one? And we're rounding our end of the hour, but
The Queen's beta. So they're all kind of all the characters are a little bit more interconnected. So the Queen's beta is going to be about the beta of Robin's pack, Gabriel, and he has a secret that's hinted at in the Duchess's Bodyguard, and you get to see a little bit about his previous relationship with the Queen of the Fey Realm, who is Yashana's cousin. So they're all kind of they know each other, and her name is Rowan. So basically, you see a little bit about them, and there is an underlying bit with it's called Truly Fated. They all have some kind of mate bond, and Gabriel and Rowan's mate bond is broken
mm-hmm.
or kind of in shambles, and they are drawn to each other, but some things happen. There's some trust issues that are not so great where they kind of wonder, what is this? What happened? And you lead into the book in that way where you're wondering, okay, what happened to them? All the while, the big plot points from Truly Faded, where some things happen that would kind of spoil it if I told you, but
Okay.
some things
No,
happen in
no
Truly
spoilers.
Faded
No
that
spoilers.
are gonna continue on in the overarching plot for the Queen's Beta. So you'll get a little bit of the romance aspect, and it's almost like a second chance romance in a way. And you also get that fantasy plot that continues on from Truly Faded, from the book one and Truly Faded.
Fantastic. I love it. Perfect. Well, what I will do now, since we're towards the end of the hour, if there's anybody who has any questions or comments for us, especially questions if you want us to answer, post them now. And again, is there anything else you would want people to know about you and your writing story at the moment?
If you are interested in fairies and a whole realm of just fairies, werewolves, nymphs, all kinds of characters,
Oh no. I think
definitely give me a shot.
perfect. Sorry, kind of cut out there for a moment, but yes, definitely give it a shot. And if anybody needs references, I'll repost this next week on my YouTube channel, and I have all your links below. So, oh, one question did pop up, and it says, why did you become a writer? Okay, so I guess going back to the start, I'll answer that, and then we'll go back to you. I know we kind of talked about that at the beginning of the hour, but people jump in and out, so we'll retouch on that one. But for me, I'm one of those people who will say I was always a writer. Well, I was always a storyteller, I should say. I wasn't really sure about the writing for a little while, but was a storyteller for a long time. And definitely when I started developing this multiverse of characters, along with my sister doing our imaginary play as children, I knew I wanted to share those characters at some point. So at that point, I just decided I was going to be an author at some point in my life. I didn't know how, but it was going to happen. And it was just a roundabout way where I actually wrote a different series first. I kind of, I guess you could almost call it as a tester series. That firstborn child syndrome, where you're testing everything out. And after that, I felt pretty comfortable with my writing style and language and the process. And so now, jumped back to actually tell those stories of my childhood, plus other series. So that's my reason of becoming a writer. How about you?
For me, it's same. I was always a writer. I remember even being young and writing poetry, and then it started into just kind of telling little stories. I would like write little journal entries of high school stories, and I've just always written from just random stories I would think up as a child to fan fiction to just kind of moving into my own stories, and it just seemed like writing was an inevitability for me, not just kind of
I love
an
that.
option, but something that I had to do is tell stories, and especially wanting to tell diverse stories.
I
And
love it.
it's a love language for me, honestly.
I love it. It's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for. Oh, wait, we have another question. Hold on. I'm not going to wrap up. Hold on, one more question. Okay, and that one says, what's the hardest thing about being a writer? I'll let you start this one. Ooh,
Hardest thing for me is marketing.
yeah,
Being a
amen.
writer, writing it easy, but the marketing is the hardest part for me. It's so intricate and trial and error. That's the biggest part.
Yeah, I will have to say I'm trying to think of being a writer. I mean, I think the hardest thing for me, at least in the beginning, it probably still is you don't know what you don't know. And so in the beginning, I obviously kind of figured out the writing process and then stumbled through the publishing process and still had no clue about the marketing process. And it's the whole, if you don't know what you're missing, you don't know the questions you ask, you don't know who to
Hmm.
approach, it can be really frustrating and sometimes takes people a long time to figure things out. And that doesn't have anything to say, um, you know, it doesn't mean that your writing's bad or anything like that. It's just you may not know what to do to get your ideas to where they need to
Hmm.
be. And so that's sometimes the hardest part is trying to figure out that whole processes and learning what you don't know. Especially if you don't know what to
Exactly.
ask from the get go, which has been my case for the whole long. I make jokes about it all the time, but it's true. I'm always the last one to figure something out. So I understand that one. But yeah, well, thank you for coming out tonight or this evening, afternoon, evening. Where are you? You're in Central. Okay, so this evening, and yeah, if you ever want to do this again, just give me a shout out. Especially since you're doing all these rapid releases by the spring, you'll probably have 50 out there, and I'll be like, woo! You'll be the expert at that point. But yeah, just let me know, and I will be sharing this next week on YouTube. So with all your links below, so people hopefully can come back, reference, find you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yay! I'm so glad to have talked with you. And again, your book covers, mwah, it's so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Well, bye.
Bye.